even into the president's private residence. Either they drag him out by force or he flees. Then someone from the crowd says, "Now I'm president." The legislative power didn't change even a little bit. The judicial power didn't change at all. The executive power didn't change at all. Nobody actually overthrew Yanukovych. He left of his own accord, and the very next day in Kharkiv, just 5 minutes into his video address, I will detail this point by point now, in that video address to the people of Kharkiv, he declared that he would not fulfill the responsibilities he had committed to and signed off on merely a day prior in Kiev with the Ukrainian opposition. He would not fulfill them. In doing so, he directly declared that firstly, by fleeing, he had self-removed from performing his responsibilities. Second, he announced that he would not carry out his duties. And it was also the case that there was no prime minister. The Verkhovna Rada, which included 36 deputies from the party of regions Yanukovych's very own party, voted for Yanukovych's self-removal. It wasn't Yanukovych's removal, but rather that Yanukovych himself refused to fulfill and ceased performing his duties. His own deputies voted for it and appointed Turkinov to the acting duties. And just a few months later, official elections were held, where the people made their choice. It wasn't simply the boldest, most audacious or loudest person who emerged from the crowd. Rather, the people genuinely elected a new president following all due procedures, with due observance of all procedures, and with all international observers. And this president was recognized by Russia and Vladimir Putin. So where exactly was the coup? Furthermore, for it to be considered a coup, someone like the Constitutional Court would have to rule it unconstitutional. Next. Yanukovych himself did not dispute it, nor did he even attempt to dispute it. He didn't file any lawsuits to challenge his self-removal. Maybe he doesn't know how to call or reach out to his 20 lawyers. That's really improbable, because he did file lawsuits to challenge the stripping of his lifelong title of President of Ukraine, his pension, and other honors. So he knows where the court is, he knows where the European court is, he knows how to get in, and he knows his lawyers' numbers, and they fought for that. But he never even filed a lawsuit to prove that it was an unlawful removal. Do you know why? Because he knows everything was perfectly legal. Neither the Constitutional Court of Ukraine nor anyone else in the world, except for Russia, declared it illegal. And it was after that point that Russia recognized Poroshenko, with Vladimir Putin also acknowledging him. Therefore, there was truly no coup in Ukraine. Plus, removing the president doesn't change the system or the form of government. It changes nothing. The autonomy of Crimea is an autonomy, but any autonomy, just like a region or an entire country, is regulated by the laws of that country and specifically by the laws of that autonomy. The Crimean autonomy doesn't have the legal right to conduct referendums. Referendums can only be held throughout the entire territory of Ukraine, where a resident of Lviv and a resident of Donetsk and Kiev and Sumy and Cherkasy also vote. Are we ready? Crimea, which might have been subsidized with residents from other regions pouring their budgetary funds into it, simply cannot secede independently. If a Crimean wants to be in Russia, he takes his suitcases once two, once three, once a backpack and goes to Russia. However, the peninsula itself doesn't possess the right to separate. Moving on. We have a timeline of events and we have the seizure of the Crimean parliament. And the elections, or rather the referendum in Crimea, took place after the parliament was seized. And according to the Geneva Convention, logic and common sense, we understand that. No referendum, no plebiscite can be held under duress at gunpoint. It's illogical. And of course, no one recognized it. Therefore, this referendum, it is absent, so to speak, from any legal paradigm. It simply does not exist. This is merely an imitation, and no one in the world can attest to the validity of its outcomes. A referendum couldn't lawfully take place. Next, how can Ukrainian passport holders vote in a Russian-held referendum? Next, separating from Ukraine doesn't automatically mean joining Russia. Next, If you visit the Crimean Parliament's website, you will discover that even when they were planning the referendum, they immediately stipulated and formally declared its annexation to Russia. This was because everything transpired under duress, specifically under the coercion of Russian military forces, which Putin subsequently admitted. You know that video. What's there to hide? Yes, we were blocking. Next. And Resolution 3314 of the Convention governs this. And the agreement regarding the basing and leasing of the Black Sea Fleet in Crimea specifically stipulates that military personnel cannot simply abandon their deployment locations without prior consent from the Ukrainian side. It's comparable to...
They were supposed to get an agreement?
There's a whole resolution on WHO. I can show you, I can read it to you, or I can tell you roughly from memory.
Go on.
Basically, even the agreement itself explicitly states that the departure from deployment locations must occur in the exact same manner as crossing a border, which necessitates the involvement of both customs and border services. And this decree also states that the SBU is included, and if I recall, the MVD as well. And someone else too. The president isn't mentioned there, by the way. Can you believe that? So a president's removal doesn't alter agreement terms.
Who is listed there? Who were they supposed to coordinate with?
At the very least, I'm telling you, at a minimum, 3 entities: the Border Service, the Customs Service, and the SBU.
Is that stated?
It's explicitly stated. If you wish, I can find you the decree where it specifies that the agreement requires coordination with competent authorities. Yes, I wasn't lazy. I even searched to find out who the competent authorities actually are. This is for when the Russians say, but your president just disappeared. The president, though, is not a competent authority and doesn't belong on that list. The true authorities are entirely different.
Look, you've said so much that...
I could go on, but why? Do you have anything to counter with, any kind of response?
We're having a conversation.
We're talking, yes.
Look. You brought up the video, talked about Yanukovych for a minute, then stopped. And now you're not describing the full video.
No, we can watch the full video. He states, I will not comply with these criminals, with these bandits who have usurped power. I will not...
Listen, a question comes to mind. Under Yanukovych, was your government presidential, parliamentary, or parliamentary presidential?
Presidential parliamentary.
Why switch to parliamentary presidential?
They wanted it that way. At least because Yanukovych switched it from parliamentary to presidential, they simply reverted it. Essentially, Yanukovych usurped power with that law.
Listen, so what was the Maidan even for then? Tell me.
It was done to prevent Yanukovych from pulling us into the customs union. It's all very simple, truly plain and straightforward.
And the cries of Moscow to the gallows?
Oh, that's perfect. Listen, if you were to write...
I'm just curious. You're the first person I've asked this question.
I believe you, I do. Yes, I can see you're curious. There's even a video. I was arguing with a Russian guy, so I typed into YouTube, Moscow to the gallows. The first video that comes up, I even added it to my saved videos. The video is about 1.5 minutes, something like that. The video shows Maidan, and there's a Russian flag hanging there. And right on the Christmas tree it reads, Ukraine and Russia together. Can you imagine? I mean, you know yourself, even prior to 2022, our borders were open, Russians were visiting us, we had Russian capital, and we even had Russian political parties. Russian agents were all over the place. That's precisely the point. We were overly kind, perhaps even excessively naive, to the extent that we were even shouting on Maidan that the people of Ukraine and the people of Russia are united. At that point, we didn't even have a direct issue with Putin. Our problem was with Yanukovych. And it was Yanukovych who they called a Moskal, because a Moskal is a soldier of the Russian military, a soldier of the Russian Empire, which shows that he is a servant of the Russian Federation, that he is doing this for Russia. He got a 3 billion loan from Putin, allegedly, and decided to roll back all euro integration. It would be okay if he had merely rolled it back, though that too presents a challenge. Such things take years to establish. If he had just rolled it back, that would be one thing, but he started to pivot and take steps towards the customs union. A country can't be in both the customs union and the European Union, you understand? Those are open borders. Europe can't open its border with a country that has an open border with countries that Europe doesn't want to open its borders to. So it's like Ukrainians are welcome here without visas, but Russians without visas are not needed. If you are in the customs union, you can't be in the European Union. And that is how Yanukovych, all by himself, turned his back on the laws of Ukraine, and most remarkably and ironically, on his very own campaign promises. These were the promises he made during the election he actually won, stating he would pursue the process of Euro integration, and that is precisely what sparked the public's protest. And when he refused to listen, when he wished to use force and did, when he resolved to decorate a Christmas tree a month and a half prior to New Year's, precisely where the demonstrators were people then redirected their, how should I say it, their discontent directly at him. No, not this a dissatisfaction. Well, you understood what I meant. And yet, in spite of all that, they still signed an agreement with Yanukovych. This accord stipulated that he was to restore the 2004 constitution, hold elections, and undertake a series of other actions. In essence, Yanukovych still had several responsibilities to fulfill. He wasn't merely being driven out without proper procedure. He was given a chance to redeem himself and at least bring everything back into a controlled path. After which, he fled to Kharkiv and officially declared, "I didn't just run away and not sign, I'm not going to do it at all."
I've just pulled up a video from November 27th, 2013. And here you are telling me something about flags, some kind of flags.
No, I'm talking about a specific video. There are lots of videos, of course. Let me find it for you. Well, that's not the right video, okay?
But do you see any Russian flags there?
I don't see any at the moment. I'll...
To the end.
Go on, by all means. No problem at all. Yes, that's right. Good. I'd be jumping around right now too if I weren't sitting here talking to you. Why not? Exactly. It's all just as I told you. Here, take a look. Let me show you.
Yeah, look. So just look. You talked extensively, right, when you were...
Yeah.
Let's switch. You're talking too much and not letting me speak. I'm listening to you, and you just keep going on.
I can listen to you, I can. Go ahead, I'm listening.
I don't even remember everything you said. I'll tell you more.
Well, you have no counter. For everything I've said, you've got nothing.
You've thrown out so many points that I'm just like,
You have no counter argument. You agree you don't have anything to rebut, right?
No, why? I do.
Go on, retort. I'm all ears now. My throat's parched, so I'll sip my drink while you speak. Let's begin. Where do you want to start? Crimea or Buratino? You still haven't answered any of my questions.
Regarding Crimea, I can tell you that it hasn't been confirmed by anyone that there were any Russian troops there seizing power. There were these people, what do you call them? Hold on. Ah, the little green men.
Seriously?
Right? I mean, it's correct. Everywhere it says little green men.
Look, I'm going to ask for some help now. Okay, so I'll ask for help. You know, like a lifeline, phone a friend. There.
Okay, I see. Go ahead, I'll call a guy from Crimea right now.
No, you'll like this guy. This guy's name is Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. Here, look, let me take off my lapel mic, so...